Okay, so scale drawings, that's what we're talking about today. So can I have a hand in there? Can someone tell me why this dog is being so silly and why the cat's like, oh geez, come on. All right, Deegan, explain it to us.
He's looking at the map on the computer and he's not really scaling it to the what it's supposed to be. So
Deegan, nice. So Deegan said the dog's looking at the map on the computer and he's not scaling it to what it should be in real life. Word for word, Deegan, that was amazing. All right, so how many of you nod your heads? I agree, Deegan. The dog's being crazy, right? Because it's not logical to have a map that we literally lay out and we put our cars on it and we drive. It's the same, right? We want a map that's a condensed version. There's no way we could do that. All right, so we're on the back of our warm-ups. Let's do the first one together. Like you were amazing on the warm-up. Okay, so I found a picture of a map. Let's pretend we're driving from where to where. Can you see this problem? Cadillac to Detroit. All right, Cadillac to Detroit. So you are now drivers. The first thing you need to do when you are a driver is you got to find those cities on the map. So point to them. Can you find Cadillac? But can you find Detroit also?
Yeah, it's right there.
Okay, here we go. Here's Cadillac, and here's Detroit. Okay, you have just passed your first test as drivers going somewhere. Second test, you gotta look at your map, and there's something called, sometimes it's called a key, sometimes it's called a legend, sometimes it's called a scale. There's something on that map that we have to use. Point to it. Can you find it? Right here. We must have this. This is so important. Guys, 1 centimeter matches how many miles? 50. Okay, second thing, yes, we can bust out a ruler and measure. However, as drivers, do you think we're going to drive around with rulers in our cars?
No.
Probably not. So, let me show you. Literally, this is what I do as a driver when I need to know how to go somewhere and I'm estimating how much gas I need. I take my fingers and I measure with my fingers. So right here, and then I slide it, Cadillac, 1, 2, 3, maybe and a half. So I think like 3.5 of these. Okay, so I want to turn it over to what Charles did on the warm-up because it was fantastic. So Charles set it up. This is what I want you to write on your warm-up on the back. Write down number 1. It's all about the setup today, so make sure you're doing the setup. So the setup is the key, the legend. The legend says 1 centimeter to 50 miles. Let's write it as a fraction. 1 centimeter to 50 miles. It's going to be, do you remember how many finger lengths I said?
3.5.
3.5? Okay, so like Charles did on the warm-up, you want to make sure you have the same units in the numerator and denominator. So centimeters here, miles here. Where do you think the 3.5 goes then? Numerator or denominator? Numerator. It's totally the numerator. You all said numerator. That's amazing. So 3.5 here. Denominator, x. Write it down, and now you are pros at solving this. Try to solve this one. So this is cross multiplying. Times that out. So we've got 50 times 3.5 divided by 1. Guys, that divided by 1, is that going to make a difference?
No.
I'll keep it the same. So technically, it's 50 times 3.5. Whisper to your neighbor. Tell them what it is. Loud whisper to me. What'd you get? Okay. Wait. I'm hearing crazy answers. How many of you got 175?
I did.
But make it perfect. 175. Good job. Good work. Circle it. We are already done with number 1 example. Okay. Number 2 example, same thing. We've got to find stuff that we're going to use. Okay, so number 2, you know what? Will you take the time to read it real quick? To yourself, please. Okay, I want a hand in here. Start the setup for us. So this is number 2 on your work. Does anyone know where to start? You're going to look at the story problem. Bailey, what do you want to do first? Good work. She's going to use this scale right here. So she said 1 inch to 500 kilometers. That's so helpful that Bailey did that for us because now we know this side needs to be inches over kilometers. Okay, if you don't have that yet, will you write it down, please? Okay, now I want a different volunteer. How is that helpful? Now what else do we need from there? Sarah, go ahead. She said, put the 2,300 kilometers as the denominator. Clap twice if you agree with her. All right, why denominator and not numerator? Why does it go on the bottom? Because it's kilometers, and I'm matching up. Oh wait, if you don't have this, write it down, and now cross multiply. Okay, give people time to solve it. Thanks for staying with me. So we've got 2,300 times 1 divided by 500. Okay, whisper to your neighbors. Tell them what they Okay, tell me, what did you get? Wait, I thought it was D. Is it B or D? Okay, I like this. Guys, hold your conversations and look at this. Here's B. Here's D. I want a hand in the air. Give me a similarity. What do they have in common? Donnie, what do they have in common? The numbers are the same, right? What do they have that's different? What's the difference, Emily?
B is inches, D is kilometers.
So which one is it? It's totally B. We're looking for inches. All right, if you can hear me, point to the ceiling. If you can hear me, point to your paper. If you can hear me, point to the board. Okay, eyeballs on the board. Watch. Guys, do you think stuff like that happens on tests? Like, for example, the CRT, the end of your test. Do you think they'll put stuff like that?
Yeah.
So be very careful and go very slow. Do you have to finish in a certain amount of time? No, you don't. You get as long as you want. So I would rather have you be checking for stuff like that and taking your time and then finishing later. So be careful. Okay, next one. Give a little rock. All right, so we got this huge spider. All right, scale drawing is how long? All right, 5 centimeters. The actual spider is how long? Okay, but what it's asking, we don't have to figure out anything other than the scale of it. Now, figuring out the scale, we have to have the same units. Now, I'm going to take a picture of something and put it on the board really quick. And I think it'll be familiar to you. So while you're waiting for me to take it written down as a setup, so we've got to figure out what is the literal. We can go from centimeters to millimeters to centimeters. Take this picture. Now on the CR reference sheet.
Oh, yes.
Okay, on the reference sheet, so you don't have to stress yourselves to remember. You are going. Ta-da! This covered. Do you remember doing this a while ago?
Yes.
Okay, so let me make it a little bit bigger. So this is on our reference sheet and we can use it, but how are we going to use it? Here we go, we've got to make a choice. We've either got to go centimeters to millimeters or millimeters to centimeters. Let's just go centimeters to millimeters. Are you okay with that? So we're going to change them both to millimeters. Well, do we have to do anything to the bottom part? Is it already millimeters? Okay, so on the bottom, in the numerator, in the denominator, let's leave that as 10 millimeters. We have to deal with the top. Now, if you forget, on the reference sheet, come back to this. And I'll remind you, don't blink, watch, watch, watch. So we're going from centimeters to millimeters. So you find centimeters. Where is it?
Top.
Second
Right there. So we go from centimeters to what? Millimeters right there. Which way is that?
Right.
How many spots?
1.
1 to the right. This is what we talked about. Where's the decimal on the 5? Behind it. Move that decimal 1 to the right. What does it become? 50 millimeters. Because we changed it to millimeters. 5 centimeters is 50 millimeters. Okay, now that you've changed it, we can say the scale. The scale is that simplified. So can I get a hand in there? Can you simplify 50 over 10? What would it become? Max, what did you say? Sure would, Max. Good work. So the scale of this is 5/1. Yeah. Scale change into the same unit. Okay, so that was example number 3. Next one. Okay, this one is in your workbook. So open up to page 122. What page, guys? Go, go, go. Who will be first with their book open to 122? Whole table, it might be this one. Oh, so flipping. Okay.
Right here, we got it. We're done.
Perfect. Okay, if you can hear me, helicopter your fingers. If you can hear me, land them on your workbook. Make sure you're on the right page. It should match this one on the board. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to fill out the missing dimensions. And the scale factor is the same for every single one. We're going to use the scale factor of 1 to 8. Okay, listen closely. Scale factors, for the most part, is very safe to say small dimensions over big dimensions. So inches to feet, which one is smaller? Inches. So that's usually going to be in the numerator, like 9 times out of 10. So let's be safe with ourselves. So this one is scale factor 1 to 8. This one says 168 inches to, guys, will you circle this? Inches. Circle this. Feet. So what we have to do first is do our setup. It's got to be inches over feet. This side, inches over feet. How do I know that? Because these units are inches and these units are feet. Okay, we're going to use the scale 1 to 8 on every single one. So this 1 to 8, where do you think the 1 goes? It actually goes in the numerator, and the 8 would go in denominator. And then where does the 168 go?
Over X.
Over X. I like how you said that.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, you have tons of room on the right of your workbook. I must see the setup, and then you can figure it out. Again, I must see the setup, and then you can figure it out, please. Once you have it figured out, you raise your hand. Thank you. Thank you, Amanda. Hold on. Again, once you figure it out, raise your hand. Use your calculator. Thanks, Charles. Thanks, Sarah. Okay. All right, Amanda, tell us what you got. What's your final answer?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Sorry, tell me again.
1, 3, 3, 4.
1,334? How many got the same as Amanda? Let me see. Good job, Cooper. Thanks. Alex, thanks. Okay, let's do the next one together. Next one, look at changes. Circle it. It goes from centimeters to meters. So our setup, I did not have tons of room on this. Our setup is going to be centimeters over meters equals centimeters over meters. We still use the 1 to 8. Maxie with this, Capri with this. Where does the 1 go? Perfect. Where does the 8 go? Okay, now be careful. Where does this 200 go?
Bottom.
Bottom. Okay, you've got your setup. Again, make sure you have that written down. And now solve it. So fast now. Keep going, guys. Okay, before you tell me, tell a neighbor at your table. Go. Ooh, those were good whispering. I couldn't hear you. Docky, what did you get? What did you get, Donnie? 25. How many of you got 25 just like Donnie? Sweet. Okay, next to, it's you and the person right next to you. Next to you, you are doing those ones on your own. I must see the setup. Go here, help me out. How did you figure out the alligator? But tell me all about your setup. I'm really curious about this setup. Lauren, what did you do for your setup?
I did 1 centimeter over 8.
You were right.
1 inches over 8 feet.
All right, 1 inch over 8.
And then I did 6.4.
Uh-huh.
And 6.4 feet
6.4 feet. Perfect. Keep going.
in X centimeters.
Perfect. Keep going. So did you do 6.4 times 1 divided by 8?
Yeah.
What'd you get?
I got
0.8 inches for that alligator. How many of you? I got the same as Lauren. Same thing. Lauren, thank you so much. Calling someone to tell us about the train. What's your setup? How'd you figure it out?
Oh, yeah.
All right, Alec, are you telling me how you did it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, go ahead. I'm ready.
Okay, so what I did was 1 inch over 8 feet,
1 inch over 8 feet. Got it.
and then 36.5 inches over x.
Perfect. Thanks for saying inches. That tells me where it goes. Over x. Okay.
And then what I did was 8 times 36.5 divided by 1, and I got 292.
292. So 8 times 36.5, and you got 292. How many of you got the same thing? Sweet. Amanda, comment question?
My number 1, it was only 1,344.
Oh, 44? Right here, guys. Should we fix this one? Should that be 44?
Yeah.
Okay. You can tell me. That's okay. Thanks for catching yourself, Amanda. That's amazing. Okay, next part is the moon problem. It's still on the same page because you've got to find the scale and set up a proportion.
Where's the moon?
Okay, tell the neighbor, what did you get for the diameter of the moon? Whisper to your neighbor. Good whispering. Can I get a hand in there? Will you tell me what your setup was for this one? Help us out. June, what'd you do? Inches over miles. Okay. On both sides. Got it. Keep going. 1 over 150. Keep going. Doing great. Ooh. How many of you agree with Jaden? That's the same setup. I have the same setup as Jaden. Chance, say, will you agree? Cameron, you guys agree? All right, Jean, what'd you get for your final answer then? 14 point. Oh, thanks for saying inches. That's a perfect answer. How many of you agree, Jaden? I got the same answer too. Jaden, good work, good work. Okay, next problem is all about your house, the movie theater, and the mall. Guys, you've got this one. It's exactly like the moon one. So work through your setup. Good luck. Wait to whisper to your neighbor. Thanks for checking on each other. Hand in the air. Josh, how did you do the first part? 1 inch over 4 mi. Okay. Over.
X.
Yeah. Good work, Josh. How many of you same setup as Josh? I agree with him. Okay, Josh, tell us what you got. How many miles?
12.
12 miles from your house to the movie theater. Yep. Good job, Josh. Hand in the air. Help me out with the mall problem then. What's your mall setup? Dig it. Help us out. What'd you do?
Okay. I did 1 inch.
Okay, 1 inch. Over 4 miles. Hold on 1 second. Just make sure you listen. All right, Deegan, go ahead.
And then 17 miles.
Uh-huh.
Under X.
Good job. You said 17 miles under X. Good work, good work. All right, so 1 times 17 is 17. Divided by 4, don't tell me. I can do mental math. All right, well, it goes into 7, let's see, it goes into 16 4 times with 4 leftovers, so cut in quarters. Make sure I did this right. Is it 4.25?
Yes.
Okay, mental math is all about practicing. Once you start having jobs with money, mental math gets easier. More number stuff. Okay, good work.